Hello. My speech today is an informative speech, and my topic is Malala Yousafzai of Pakistan. A bit of a difficult last name to pronounce. My general purpose is basically to inform audience of Malala's work as an education activist. More specifically, to inform my audience of Malala's fight to ensure that all girls worldwide could get an education. Again, the organization that of an education activist. Now, to begin, imagine for a moment, boom, being shot in the head by a gunman just because you're a girl and you want an education. This is what happened to our young activist. She survived, and we'll talk more about that. And today continues to fight. Malala is the youngest Nobel Peace Prize winner at the age of 17. Was able to obtain credible information from credible websites for this speech. Diane Sawyer's Dateline 2020 of May 2017 and the biography website were two sources I use, and those are credible sources. My thesis statement, basically, to focus on Malala and her network of supporters, how they're raising funds to distribute to developing countries such as Nigeria, Brazil, India, just to name a few. How her network of supporters raise funds to distribute to these developing countries to help provide education to all children, not just girls. 3 points I'd like to address. One, the Taliban, that I believe everyone has heard about. We'll find out who they are. Talk about the death threat, that attempted assassination of Malala. And then we'll talk about a continued advocacy in the form of the Malala Fund and the Golmakai Network. We'll talk about who they are and what is being done. First, let's take a look at the Taliban. Who are they? Well, we know that the Taliban is an extremist Islamic group that originated from out of, believe it or not, Pakistan, near the border of Afghanistan. That's where they started out back in 1994, I believe my source said, and in the 1990s anyway. And they started out in Pakistan, and then basically filtered over into Afghanistan and was all over Afghanistan. When you heard the name Taliban, you thought of terror. You thought of extremists. You thought of terrorists, which is what they try to instill fear in their people and in others, of course. Their aim was to basically topple the governments around them, Afghanistan, the government in Afghanistan, the government in Pakistan, and then of course once they're in power, enforce their version of Islamic laws. Right? They had extremist views that forbade education of females. They could have some education up to the age of 8, and if they were studying, they had to study the Quran up until 8, and after that, no education. many other atrocities that we could go into, but today we're going to just focus on education, the denial of education for the girls. At the age of 11, after the Taliban started to attack the girls' schools, they blew up the schools in the areas around where Malala lived. Um, they forbade them from going to school, and they blew up the school and burned the books. And Malala gave a speech in her town, in Pakistan, that was entitled, "How dare the Taliban take away my basic right to education? How dare they?" she said. She spoke out a lot before that speech, and she continued to speak out against the Taliban and continued to defy them. As a matter of fact, on that bus where she was shot, all the girls, everyone else's head was covered except hers. And Diane Sawyer asked her why, you know, but she was not afraid. She was defying the Taliban and wanted and knew that eventually they were going to come after her. So they made an assassination attempt on October 9th, 2012. Malala was 15. She was on the bus with her friends going home from school, and the gunman came on, asked who is Malala, and everybody looked at Malala, and of course that gave her away. The gunman shot her right in the head. Fortunately, she was able to survive, was flown to a military hospital in Pakistan where she was underwent some treatment, was in critical condition, eventually stabilized, and she was able to get to Birmingham, England, where she underwent multiple surgeries and eventually basically recovered enough to survive, to live the life that she's living today. She's been recognized by many countries, many organizations. She's been on a lot of talk shows in the U.S. If you go on YouTube, you see her on the Ellen Show. She's been on some other talk shows at night. Most importantly, though, the European Parliament recognized her. She sat down with many world leaders. She addressed the United Nations. It's not all about that, though. It's the fact that this young lady is such an inspiration, and she's showing that she's genuine, and she's fighting for the rights of all children, all girls, to get an education. So through her fund, the Malala Fund and Gulmakhai Network, funds are provided to schools or to countries that need the help to build schools, to provide supplies, clothing, whatever is needed to continue to educate all children. Now, in conclusion, the work of this young activist again has inspired many other strong individuals to come forward and to fight for the education of all children. In countries where the Taliban exists, it's more challenging. In war-torn countries, where it's dangerous to go to school and there's gender discrimination, all of those schools are looking to try to educate their children. All of those countries, through the Gulmakhai Network, they're working towards trying to educate their children. And even though it's dangerous, there's support out there, and seeing such a young lady put forth this effort, it's an inspiration for many. It's really heartwarming to see what she's doing. And again, Malala Yousafzai. Thank you.